Hello and good afternoon, evening, everybody. It is Collin back for another section of the massive Blender tutorial. My version, and not the old one. But a couple of things to mention first. I mean, look at this frames per second. It's amazing. You can see that today is September 9th. So compared to the last tutorial that you watched, it's been a while since I recorded something, and that is because I have recently gotten myself a new computer. It is very fantastic. I enjoy it very much, and it can do a lot more. Whereas before I had a dual core, like 2 gigs of RAM or something, I now have a quad core with like 3 gigs of RAM that can be devoted to. It's cut in half or something, so that 2 can go to one spot and 1 can go to another area. So it's almost like a dual core RAM or something like that. I don't know. It's fantastic though. Although it needs a fan or else it will melt your leg. Because it's a laptop. Anyway, along with that, in the process of transferring files and reinstalling things on this computer, I can't get Hypercam to work. And so I've been looking around a little bit today at some other screen recorders, asking some people for suggestions, and I think I found one that I like. Just using a free trial at the moment, and I think I wouldn't mind buying it one day. I mean, it does a lot of things that I like. I'll have to keep an eye on it and see if there are like newer versions that are better. I do not like how it switches Windows 7 to Windows 7 basic color scheme. It's actually kind of annoying. More than it should be, I should say. So anyway, where I last left you off literally yesterday, since the last video I posted was yesterday, even though I recorded it some time ago. I said that we were going to move on to the animation stage, and look at me gesturing with my hand when you can't see it. And so today, or actually not just today, but I've been trying to come up with a way lately to actually show you how to make the animation, because I'm sure that you sitting here watching me create the animation for a couple hours isn't exactly what we should do. And so I was thinking about what I should do instead. I was thinking about showing you important parts, or just like coming and apologizing to you, because I really don't know about animating this. Things have been pretty busy lately. But no, I'm going to come and animate it for you. But what I decided to do that seemed to best fit would be to show you how to animate things by themselves, like give you a basic overview of animation, and then do a time-lapse video, maybe as the next part of the animation process, and then I'll do like a rendering video and then the final result. Let's see. Since this is new Blender, screencast is small again. Move the text up to 30 and see how that looks. 35 is what I think I had it at. Okie dokie. So here we have Ezio, once again. I haven't seen him in a little while. Kind of forgot how cool he is. So, animation. You can see that my timeline bar down here is really small. That's because I don't use it very often, but when I am animating, I will bring it up a little bit so that I can use it. But also, what some people do, but I haven't done yet, is change from default up here to animation. And it gives you a camera perspective up here, which is really nice. Although I don't know why it's in wireframe. I could probably turn that off somehow. I don't know, can I just... Okay, I hit Z over there and that's fine. Then it gives you your 3D view here. It kind of makes these smaller over here because you don't use them as much, and then it also gives you a dope sheet and a graph editor along with your timeline down here. The dope sheet can switch between that and the action editor. The graph editor I don't think is used too often. I mean, some more professional animators probably use it all the time, so I'm just going to leave the dope sheet up over here. Let's see. And yeah, what's really nice about being able to move these things around is to be able to configure what you want. So what I'm going to actually do is move this one to a 3D view and put my camera, that was not it, there we go, put my camera on this side, and then view. Haven't done this part in a little while, so if I hit only render over here, it'll show me only the render in just this section and not this section. So you can see that I cannot see my my bones down here. My bones. So yeah, we can get on to the animation, I suppose. So first of all, what you will have as a default down here is nothing. Next to these little keys down here at the bottom right, you will see nothing as a default. And that's okay. See, if I have my bone selected here and I hit Control Tab to go into pose mode, or just having it selected and clicking down here and going to pose mode, I'm going to switch my widget to a rotation and from global to normal. That way when I rotate it, it will stay with the bone and make things a lot easier. If this doesn't have anything in it, there's nothing there, as I've already mentioned. Kind of warming up, giving instructions again. To place a keyframe somewhere, I'm going to go back to frame 1 and say I want to keyframe everything. Or maybe I'll like move his arms down or something. I think I have this on a cloth simulation, so that'll fall down. You know what? I think I recorded me doing a cloth simulation on this. I made like a... let's see, what's the word? I used to get them all the time when I would get like little Lego things. It would come with an extra sheet that was like mistakes that they made in the instructions. Oh, man, I can't remember the word for that now. Addendum, that's it. I had made a few addendum episodes, so those must be stuck on my other computer right now. I can try and get back on that within the next day or so and see if those are there. Otherwise, the cloth simulation was pretty simple. I did that for this cape and this cape right here. I took the bones out and separated them as a different object, gave them a vertex pinning at the top where they are connected. I think they were still parented to the armature with automatic weights, and I had painted on the top where the pinning was. And then I went over and gave it a collision and cloth, or no, just cloth. What is this? Physics on it, and then I made the rest of the body have a collision. So that is a quick overview. I know that just by looking up vertex pinning and using your knowledge of weight painting, you should be able to get that pretty easily, but I can still look for those tutorials on my other computer soon. Shake out my hands a little bit because I've been sitting here for a while. And okay, so back to what I was saying. Let's say I wanted to put a keyframe right here in this position. I would press the letter I, and it would ask me what kind of keyframe I would want to put. There is location, rotation, scaling, or different variables, or dictionary out the window. Different combinations. But if I go down here, this will set what kind of keyframe you will insert every time you just press the letter I. So oftentimes I will keep it on lock rot scale, which means location, rotation, and scale. And so just by pressing the letter I, it will have added frames. And you'll see it says successfully added 450 keyframes because there are mini bones. And you can see in the dope sheet I got a whole bunch of keyframes over here for many different things. And down here in the timeline I have this yellow bar signifying that I have a keyframe there. One good thing that the dope sheet is for is that, say you put a keyframe in the wrong place, you wouldn't really know how to grab it and move it, but in the dope sheet you can click on this top key up here. Like, you can select them individually down here, but the very top one will select everything. And you can just press G and grab it, and it'll move it along the timeline and put it where you need it. You can scale it which is nice. It scales from your mouse position, I believe. Yes, it does. You can't rotate it though, I don't think. Also in here, if you scoot this over using the middle mouse click to do this, if you're wondering, there is a mouse cursor that you can click on, and it'll show you only what you have selected. Otherwise, if you don't, it'll always show you everything. But that is a very handy tool. Let's see, next up. So you can put markers in by pressing M and then rename them. So if I go down here to the first frame and I press M, it'll add a marker here, and then Control M will let me name it, and I can say like starting frame. I won't really use those very often, so how do I delete a marker? Just X. It didn't do it. Control M. Just gonna go like that. Okay. Doop. Delete marker. Delete markers, yes, there it is. I had to click it twice. And so, those are markers. I don't use them very often, but they're good for organization's sake. And so we added a keyframe of him here on the very first one. And so let's say we want him to, let's see, I can make him do many things. I'll have him like look down at his hidden blade and have that pop out, and he'll like kind of feel it and then put it away and come back to a normal state. And so let's see, most videos these days are like 24 to 30 frames a second, so you can see how many frames down here. And let's put the end frame at like 1,000 just so we don't have to worry about it. And that's actually not very much, believe it or not. And so I could go to 20, but I'll go ahead and go to 30. What some people do is they will break down their whole animation into poses and put them one frame after another, and then use the dope sheet to move out each pose to the time that it needs to be in, and then fill in the in-betweens of that. So I guess that is the better way to do it, so I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm on frame 1, and I'll go to frame 2. I won't really have a reason to show you this, but I'll go ahead and just do it right now. If you click down here, you can type what frame you want to go to, so I could say 2, and it would go to frame 2. But if I'm on frame 1, you can actually do 1 plus 1. You can have it do math, and it'll go to where you need it to be. So you could be like 3 times 7, and it would 3 times 8. It would not know. That is interesting. See, if I'm on frame 100 and I do 100 divided by 2, it would go to 50. And if I do 50, oh, I bet it's the asterisk, 50 times 2. There it is. So yeah, you can do math in there, and it's helpful sometimes. So frame 2. The next pose I would want him to have is him looking down a little bit, maybe a little bit to his right. Pull his arm up like this. Let's turn it. Because he is low poly, some of his actions look a little bit weird, because there will be lots of sharp edges. That's not a bad thing. That's just because of the fact that it's low poly. I mentioned earlier in the tutorial that if you gave him a subdivision surface, that would certainly help out a little bit, but it would take away your sharp edges. And I gave him a subdivision surface like that really quickly by hitting Control 1 to do a level 1 or a Control 2, but yeah, that wasn't important. And so he will have his hand out like this, pull his hand up like that, he's looking at it. Then I'm going to hit A twice to select everything. I'm going to press the letter I to add a keyframe. Technically, you wouldn't have to put a keyframe on everything. You could do it just on the things that you moved, which would be the arm, this, and this. But then, in case we ever moved this later on, say, like say I had him look at his hand like that, and then put it back down and run away, or no, not run away, but he puts his hand back down and turns around, and I only put keyframes on the things that were moving, which is his head, arm, and hand. the moment he turns around, it wouldn't start from when he puts his hand back down, but it would actually start from the beginning keyframe, because that's where the last keyframe for this bone was located. And so it is very important to understand putting pauses in. So there's a keyframe here, and then let's say it doesn't move for 10 frames or 30 frames or whatever, and then it starts moving again. Just before it starts moving again, you need to put an animation, or not an animation or an annotation. You need to put in a keyframe where to show that nothing was moving between those two periods of time. And it'll even show you in the dope sheet. Say I go like this now and press I. You will see in the dope sheet that it has this orange bar, or black, depending on if you have it selected or not. Those show your pauses, or I think they call them like f-stops or something, but don't quote me on that. But whereas if something does move, say like I move his arm and I keyframe that, if I zoom way in, you'll see that those orange bars aren't there, and that's because there was movement there. And so I can go ahead and delete these keyframes, since I didn't mean to do that. So yes, very important to understand where your paused movements are. Then let's see here. That was the first pose. And then I think the next one, let's move his hand over a little bit, bring it up, move his head a little bit, bring his other hand out, and bring it over so like he's going to feel the blade, like, oh yeah, this is it's not very dull, it's still good, kind of thing. Except that'll be a little tough. There we go. Put his hand back like this, go like that, and then he'll be feeling it a little bit there. And insert keyframe, just like that. And then the next one, let's say he goes back to his normal stance here. So on frame 1 with everything selected, I can hit Control C, and then go to frame 4, Control V, and then keyframe, and it'll be just like that. Another thing you can do, if you have your toolbar open, let's say I moved his hand out like this and copied this, I could select the hand or the arm on this side and hit Control V, and down here in the toolbar it'll say flipped on X-axis, which would allow you to copy one side of what you're doing over to the other. And if you don't, let's say I just accidentally did something there that you should know about. Let's say you moved your guy around, broke his limbs or something. Let's do a nice broken leg. There we go. If you don't keyframe it and move away, it'll completely forget about your movements, which is helpful sometimes when you mess up, but also not helpful sometimes when you need a movement, but you also need to keyframe something else before you can copy it without keyframing it, and then go back and do what you need. And so we have our 4 starters here. You'll notice I didn't take out the knife yet, because that'll be a different section. So let's say we start moving these out to where they need to be. So with my mouse about over frame 1, I'm going to scale things up a bit, and you can kind of see the things that don't move here. And I'm wondering why this one didn't move out. Okay, so the first motion is him looking at his hand. And as far as how long that should take, let's see. You can kind of sit there and think about your own hand movements, just like, you know, he pulls his hand out really quickly, and then he'll look at it. So his hand out would be like maybe a quarter of a second. So let's say I grab his arm here like this, and I move over to just selected things, and I will grab his arm here. Nope, just want this. Yes. And then I'm going to pull these back to, see, quarter of 30 would be about 7, I think, because 7 times 4 is 28. So I'll put it on frame 8. Which I see 6, 7, 8, about right there. And then if I go back to selecting everything, you can kind of see how now his head doesn't move with his hand comes up while he's still starting to look at it. And see, it'd be nice if he had a pause before the next one, but we can work on that. And so his head movements, if I just select the head here, say pull my hand out and then look at it. So let's say I copy this right here and I move to probably about the same frame, or I'll move it, yeah, same frame as when the hand gets here. I'll copy that and add a keyframe so it has a little bit of a pause where he pulls it up and then just kind of goes down to looking at it, which is also a quick motion. So let's say put that on frame 8. That looks good to me. I mean, sometimes you can't always go based off of numbers. Sometimes you just have to choose. Sometimes you have to look at it and say, yeah, that looks nice. I would save right now, although this isn't necessarily important file-wise, so remember to save. So we have this first one ready. Then as far as the next one goes, which is him switching from looking at his hand. I don't want this to be moving here, so I'm going to copy the hand here, Control C, and bring it over, say about here, and give it that spot right there. Does it move at all? Nope, it mostly stays right there. I think it moves right here, so I'll give it a keyframe there. So now I think this would be a good, no, it wouldn't be a good time, I'm sorry. Okay, so he moves this up, takes a look at it, brings the other arm up, so that other arm movement, we can see how fast that is happening. So it's going from frame 22 to frame 46. About a total of 24 frames, which is less than a second. Sounds about right. And let's see here. If I select everything, copy it, I'm going to go to just before the end and put in a keyframe there. It added a pause through this whole section right here, and that's because I have more that I want to add here. So let's say he pulls out his hand like that, and then let's see, this bone right here, I have it paused. I want to delete the keyframe right here so that it turns back, because he'll have the blade out. So he pulls it out, whips the blade out, and kind of brings his hand up. There we go. And then, let's see, through this whole pause motion, I want him about halfway through to just slightly move his hand up this way, like he's feeling the blade. Although, let's see, yeah, I'll go ahead and put a keyframe there. Let's move this up a bit and put a keyframe there. I don't know if that messed anything up with this bone here. Let's see. That's fine. I keep wanting to save. And yeah, that looks about right to me. Anything else I need to add? I mean, you could add more on the fingers if you want. Say he pulls his hand up right about here. I go in and grab all the fingers and add a keyframe right here. And say one like right here. If I go back, I can pull these out a little bit. Just some movement. I haven't taken the blade out yet, so that might need adjusting. So let's say he's like, oh, that is not what I wanted. I think I'm putting this on the wrong frame. So I'm going to hit Control C, like I mentioned before. So let's see, he brings his hand up to here, and then right about there, he brings it back. So let's say right here, Control V, insert keyframe. There we go. Trying to save again. And okay, so now we can move on to what I was going to mention earlier, which is animating that knife coming out. So I'm going to select Ezio himself, and down here in the object data where I can find my shape keys, this is where we placed the things such as his smiling, mouth open for talking, and then the hidden blades. And so what you can do is find that frame of him. See, so he holds his hand up right there, and right about here is where he's going to start pulling out the blade. So what you can actually do is, in this list, you can either hold your mouse over the number right here or over this bar right here. I do not need that massive of a library right now, so I'll bring this up here. So you can hold your mouse over these numbers here or the value slider here to insert a keyframe. So we are doing just this blade, so I'm going to hit I right here, and you'll see it turns yellow to signify that there is a keyframe there, whereas the next one it would be green, saying that it is animated but not on this frame. And so I put one in at the very start where it is at 0, nothing is happening, and he's going to pull it out right about at that point. So I'll pull it out like this and then insert another keyframe. And it appears that that shows up in the dope sheet as well, which is really nice. I never really thought about that before. So you can see he starts to pull it out like that, and kind of leaves it out. Looks like he's stabbing his hand with it, actually. That's nice. And so then right about here, I'm going to hit keyframe again because there is a pause between these two frames. Nothing is happening. And then as he pulls it down, pull it back in, just like that. If you need to, say delete the keyframe, you could use the dope sheet, or you can hold your mouse over this spot again and hit Alt-I. That is how you delete a keyframe. That goes the same for these bones here. If you have your mouse over, or the timeline, the current frame that you were on, if it is on a keyframe, you can hit Alt-I, and it'll ask you if you want to delete the keyframe for that selected thing, or you can select all and delete it all like that. And so that is that. A good thing about shape keys is that there's this X button that resets everything to 0 all at once. That is good to know. If you are trying to select or go through lots of keyframes, like I said, you can put your mouse over this and be like doop, 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 to do that really quickly. But I don't want those, because they're not doing anything. So I'm going to go back to the hand here and see if I can fix up that painful, like, I can't even imagine what it would feel like to slit your hand right there. That's awful. So let's see, he brings his hand up to about here, so that is more or less good. I think I would have him pull it back, or maybe even turn it like this and then move it down. There we go. Put that on that keyframe, and then let's move it like this on that one. See how that looks. Then he puts it back right there, which I don't want. So I'm going to go back to this frame. Yes. Control C. He moves it like that, and then he goes back. So Control V. Insert keyframe. Goes like that, and then pulls it back, and there we go. I have fixed that issue. And I hope that that shows you about the basics of animation here. What we can do is see, the end frame was on 70 or so let's go to 80, put my end frame at 80, and I'm going to hit play. So now we can see him moving. You can see it says about 15 frames a second. That's just how quickly it can play here. It seems to be a little fast, actually, if you look at the because technically it'll come out like 30 frames a second, so it'll be like twice as fast as this. And so what I might do is go from 80 to 160 and select everything here and go back to the first frame, put my mouse on the first frame and scale it outward this way. Of course, it doesn't seem to be scaling like I would like it to. Like not everything is being scaled evenly. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to hit A and A to select everything again. Let's keep trying here. Oh, let's see if I put this back on frame 1. There we go. That's what I was doing wrong. So then look down at the timeline as I'm doing this. What I did there is I put the current frame back on frame 1 so that it would scale from frame 1 outwards. So if I look at the timeline while I'm adjusting it, you can see the yellow dots moving. I'll get it close to... I'll do that. So if I hit play again, you can see that the motion is a lot slower. But that is also because this is playing slower than it should be. That's why it's red, to indicate that it's not going as fast as it possibly can. Let's see, other things I should mention to you about animation. See, while it's playing, I can go down and put my mouse in this 3D view area and hit Shift Space, and it'll bring up that as the largest thing that you can see. You will notice that the blade is coming out at the wrong time now. So if I pause and bring that back out, select this, I can scale everything out to about, see if this is correct. Almost. So this is where I can use a marker and say that he starts it right here. So I'll put a marker, Control M, start. And then he brings it out, kind of messes with it, and then starts to put it away right about here. Like starting to put it away. So Control M, away. So now if I go back to frame 1 so that I can scale these accurately, I can scale this down like this, and you see it matches up just fine. So it comes out all at the right times. So now I can go back and clear that marker and go back to playing again and Shift Space over here. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. And if you want to leave, you Shift Space again. Some other thing I should note is if you do something like a cloth simulation or any sort of simulation, actually you can see this blue bar down here. When you change something, the first time, like if I changed how his arm was moving in the animation, the first time I played through it, it would take longer because it would be creating this blue line down here. It assumes that if nothing is moved or anything has changed, like I guess I can give you an example. If I go over here and change the cloth presets to like leather or something, and I go back to frame 1, you'll see that there's no blue bar down here. And whereas it was going about 15 frames a second, if I hit play now, it is surprisingly going amazingly faster, which is weird. I have no explanation for that. But it created this blue bar down here as it went. And now it's going as fast as it needs to be, which is 24 frames per second, because it has baked that animation. It knows how it's supposed to move because it's already done it once before, and it's just replaying it. So this blue bar shows you how much it has baked. But if you were like me, I made a video once trying to test this out, and I got really frustrated because I did something like this one down here, and as my character was running, this just randomly just came off and it stopped following, and I had no idea why, and I spent quite a while trying to figure out why. If you go down to cloth cache, I think, yes, it tells you how many frames that the cloth is going to be moving for. You tell it when to start and when to end, just like you do a regular animation. So let's say I told it to end on frame 50. The next time it went around, it would stop doing a simulation on frame 50, where it should have. It should have. See if I pause it and hit play now. That is odd. But anyway, yeah, you put the end frame where you up to the point where you want it to follow. Oh, that's because I have the wrong one selected. Put this on 50 to give you an example. And then it stops, just like that. And so if my character is moving, it wouldn't necessarily follow him. And so you want to be sure that that is marked to the end of your animation as well. Good to know. And so before, see, I got a couple more things I can show you. Let's say you messed up a pose and you don't like it, and you just want to start over from scratch. I know I used to, in my other videos, in my Minecraft video, I don't know if you've seen it, the red versus blue one, when I moved the top one here, the hips weren't parented to it, so the legs wouldn't follow, and that caused for all sorts of annoying troubles and frustrations. And I made sure to teach you not to do that in this tutorial. But say you get to some really crazy, weird pose that you've messed up somehow, you don't know how you got it there, but you don't enjoy it, and it would take you much longer to figure out how to get him back into his normal position than you would like it to take. So he's completely whacked out. Now imagine how long it would take me, not by hitting Control-Z, but to go back and try and reposition everything correctly. And you know, even if I did try that, it wouldn't be perfect. And so that could be very annoying and very problematic. But what you can do instead is, if he's in this awful position, you select everything. In fact, let's make it even worse. Let's say that he's somewhere where you don't even want him to be. And then twist him all weird like that. Now getting him back to that same position would be very hard, but what you can do is hit Alt-G. That brings him back to his original location, considering that when you move him, you can see the orange dot down here, that's his origin point. That doesn't move when you move things in pose mode. So when you hit Alt-G, it puts it back into place where it should be. And you can hit Alt-R, and everything will reset its rotation back to what it used to be. And if you reset rotations with bones, it oftentimes goes right back to where you had it. Same goes for Alt-S for scaling. And so, very handy. Be sure to know it. That is Alt-G, Alt-R, and Alt-S. It will save you so much time.